Alright, welcome back. In this video you'll see me mount the front end up. That was a bit of a mission. I tried to get as much footage as I can, but there's a lot of thinking that has to happen while you're doing the job, and it's also a bit of a mission if you've got to put the video together. So you won't see much footage of the front end getting put on. It still needs more bracing and stuff like that. At the moment I'm about to jump in and make a bit of clearance for the tail shaft. Well, I started by welding up the frame to the cab. I wanted to do this so none of the materials I've put in moved when I add weight to the cab, such as the guards and the front panels. You'll see me mucking around with the welder handpiece there. This is a new welder to me, so I'm testing out the controls on the handpiece. And it's always handy to have a bit of scrap metal next to you just to trial your welder settings. This is a real good trick before you do some ugly welds on the material and have to grind them out again. So I ended up with a bit of scrap there just to dial it in, because I'm using a wide variety of material thicknesses. So the cab is 1.2 mil thick, the frame is 3 mil, and the plates are 6 mil. You kind of need to play around with your settings a bit. You'll see I added a brace between the two front cab mounts. This makes sure they're always in line, because obviously when you weld it, you'll get a bit of distortion, and those plates would have wanted to peel upwards. So I clamp the bar in between them just to stop any distortion. And I'm jumping around a lot with my weld sequences. That's to minimize distortion as well. You can't put a lot of heat in materials like this, so minimize distortion. Bit of a progress report on what's happening with the truck. I'm starting to get the front end bolted up just so I can start making up some brackets. So that's how she's going to look. We've got plenty of room in there. You can see the bonnet's way above the engine. I've got this side panel, the top panel, mocked up for now. I've got to cut the subframe or the inner structure that's sitting over there, right there. So I've got to chop that up, and I'm going to build some bracketry off that so we can support the front end off the truck, but it looks nice and wide. This is the front end off the COMMER, so I'm going to have to chop him up a bit. A lot of the sheet metal we can't keep, and that firewall's in the wrong spot now, so I'm going to chop as much as I can out of it, because I don't think we need much of it. I want to keep the front support here, this radiator support, because these holes here are actually for a bracket that supports the guards. So I want to try and retain that, and then the rest of it I should be able to get rid of. This top area here I'm going to keep as well. That holds up the guard as well. So let's get chopping. Okay, so here's what I've done so far. I've separated the bit I need from the bit I don't need. This is going to become a bit of the understructure for the guards and the nose cone, and then we'll have to brace it all up. But this one is too narrow for the engine setup that's in there now. These rails were the wrong angles and stuff like that, so I didn't need to save any of that. So I'm going to try and put this up. Now I've left these little bits of plate on. I'm going to use some vice grips to hold it up on the cab, and it'll give me the width, because I've left that flange on the firewall, which will give me a lip to clamp to. So we'll see how we go. Oh man, this is a big job. I've got the inner structure set up. I'm going to use this top panel to square up the front end. So when I put both of them on and bolt it all up, it should square it up enough to where I can start whacking some bracketry in to the front cab mounts. So today's activities, I've welded out the rear cab mounts, and I've added a gusset in the front one, just a little one. The floor pan's going to brace it up a lot too, so I'm leaving that temporary brace in there for now. I ended up putting the cab back on so I can mock up the front. That was an absolute mission. It kind of defeated me today. It's just one of those days where I don't know if what I've done today is going to be permanent. Just because the cars are so different, trying to mount the brackets up or make brackets up and make sure it's all going to work and keep it strong enough. So I've added a plate. That's a 6mm plate, same as the rest of the cab mounts. I've added that. I've welded it to the front of the COMMER. At the moment it's flimsy. I need to add some kind of plate from here to there because it still moves. I've taken a lot of strength out of the front end at the moment, so I need to add a lot of strength back in. It's very tight. So there's only just enough room for the brake master and booster and stuff, and then the power steering. I think I might cut like a scallop out of here later on for the power steering reservoir, or just relocate it. I've got plenty of space between the front of the motor, or front of the engine, and the grille, so we can relocate a lot of the stuff in here.
2,000 years later.
So what I'm thinking is I want to cut this inner skin out and replace it. You can see there it's rusty. So I was thinking of putting a bit of box section in there to reinforce it, and then it's going to give me an area to put some sheet metal from this box section up to the new box section. I like the rusty patina look of this car, so I'm not going to do a huge amount of rust repairs. I want to keep it. I want to keep the look of it. And later on down the track, if I want to, I can start doing some of the rust repairs. But at the moment, I just want to get it functioning. So today, I'm going to chop this out. See where I've marked it. So that's where our tail shaft goes. I need to make a bit of a tunnel for it. I want to get that chopped out, but I want to have this bracing in here, or the box section up here first, so I can brace this to it, because if I cut it there, it's going to spring up because of the weight of the cab. So I want to be able to brace it, and then we can start adding some bracing to the floor, or we can start building the structure for the floor. I finished trimming it up, but she's pretty rusty. So I ended up deciding to trim all the rusty stuff out. There's still more there, but I think we can work with what we got now. This is purely to seal the cab up. So I'm going to drill some holes in it, and then we'll plug weld it from the backside. We'll have somewhere to brace to. So it's going to end up something like that. Now I need to make the tail shaft loop. So these marks here are going to be how wide the tunnel is. I've made it fairly large in case I ever do an engine conversion. That way I've got a bit of room to offset the transmission and engine if I have to. Believe it or not, these aren't actually in the center of this car anyway, so I've made it a little bit wide. Hopefully it doesn't bite me down the track. I'm going to try and use this 3mm to make up the tunnel, or like a bracket for the tunnel. I don't know if this is going to work, so worst case scenario, we've just wasted a bit of 3mm plate. I don't know if that's worth the effort. I think I might just try it by hand. Alright, change of plans. I'm going to try and press it, and hopefully we get a nice radius out of it. This is what I've come up with for the tunnel. So this is going to brace up the box section. So it was a bit of a pain to bend. This is 3mm. Should be plenty strong. And then eventually the sheet metal will go over the top. We'll spot weld it. I'm going to put it in the truck now. I need to spot weld the frame that I've put in there as well against the rear wall. And then this will just get welded across the top to support the floor to the rear wall. Alright, that's what I've done so far. Created a loop. So now when I do the sheet metal, I can come straight down here and put a fold in it and bring it up, and it will be able to seal along here. I'm going to start with one of these first floor brackets. First I've got to set how far off the transmission I've got to go. So I'll hold the square there, set my measurement, which I think I'm going to go 30mm from the, this little flange here. So let's say 30. That's 30mm. I'll mark it on the rear. And then what we'll do is I'll clamp this under here. And what that's going to do is give me a landing pad.
I've got this across the top, so what I can do is if I sit that on there and clamp this over here, then I know this is now sitting level with this. And it holds it in mid space there so I can measure. Because this cab narrows down, it's not actually square. So what I can do is get a rough measurement here and then put the piece on here and mark it out. So if I get that roughly where I want it, I need to be able to square this off, so I'm going to have a reset. I've got that there. Now we get our square. I'll square that up there. So what I'm doing now is I'm squaring this up with the rear, which is going to set this up to be square, and this section will be square, and then we can add a brace down there later on. Alright, I'm happy with that. This is just going to be loosely put in here for now. What it allows me to do is get a measurement. So I'll get a measurement from there to there. So it's approximately 590. It's going to be a little bit less than 590, but I'll have to trim it on that angle anyway, so that's fine. Double check it. Yeah, 585. There's clamps everywhere, but this is what I'm up to. I've cut this piece here. I'm going to square this piece with the rear, and then this piece with this piece, and tack it all on. I might only tack this for now, and then I'll pull it out, weld the back end, and reinstall it. And I can weld the underside of these later on. But at least if I've got a bit of strength in there, it should stop it flapping about. That's the plan I'm thinking. I don't know, making it up as I go along. So let me double check it with the square. So we're square there. Pretty happy with that, guys. Pretty bloody happy with that. See? Alright, I'm tacking it. I'm tacking it. Couple of blind tacks. Let's just double check. It's closed up a little bit. Yo! You're welcome. Yeah, sounds good. Alright, I'm happy with that. Let me flip it, weld it, back it in place. Oh, big Gaposaurus Rex in there. Alright, I've got that welded out just to give me a bit of strength while I'm mocking all this stuff up, because that is not going to change. I'll get it clamped back up and tack it on. Here's what I've done so far. So I've added these. These are going to be a bit of a seat structure. So the seats will get some additional brackets on here later on, once I know what seats I want to use, because I'm kind of thinking of bench seat, but I also want to take this thing to the track. So I want to run a bucket seat as well. So I might come up with a system that I can use the bench seat in it, as well as the race seats for when I go to the track, so I can just unbolt them and put the race seats in. I haven't thought of that far ahead yet, so I haven't done any brackets for it. Next, I need to start working on the rest of the frame here, but I don't want to do that till I get the wheels put on properly with the spacers that I'm going to run. So this is kind of going to be a track car, maybe registered one day. I want to do a bit of drifting in this, so I'm making it very wide, very low. I am going to do some mods to get some more steering angle. So what I want to do is build the firewall to suit the steering lock with the wheel spacers on. So I've ordered some wheel spacers. Once they arrive, I'm going to put them on, and then I can start doing the frame, and then I can start doing the firewall as well, knowing that I'm going to have the clearance. So as far as the floor pan frame today, I think I'm done with that. Next, I want to muck around with the steering column and the booster and the brake pedal, just to give me an idea where it needs to be, so I can start planning for where the firewall is going to be. This cab is very short compared to the Navara. The way it was comfortable, so in the original form for this cab, the seats were very high. I want to go low, which means my leg room's limited. So I want to try and push the firewall as far forward as I can, but I don't want to ruin the space in the engine bay. So I've got to work that out. And it's also very hard to move this thing without a steering column. So I want to get the steering column, even if it's put in there with a bit of a zip tie or some tie wire, just so I know where it is and I can turn the steering wheel to move the truck around. So that's the plan. See how we go. Alright, it's done. Let's go for a drive. So I'm going to wrap this video up here. I've managed to get a bit of the floor done. I've started mocking this up. I wanted to have a quick release. I don't think that's going to happen. It's too far out. So I think I'm just going to run a slimline boss kit. I need to make up some brackets for this. So I'm going to get this sorted in the next video. I need to get some more materials. I've got a bit of a game plan on how I'm going to do it. But that's going to wrap up this video. Thanks for watching.